Hello, I am continuing my series of talks about different list types, and the one I want to talk about today is the defensive list. A list that focuses on being able to survive whatever the enemy throws at it. And there are specific nations that does this really well. Um, Finland, for instance, has a brilliant army for this. The roster is definitely geared towards defense, with very, very hard veteran infantry that gets bonuses for being in ambush. That works really well. But you can also have other lists. What really makes a defensive list is that you have to have something that discourages the enemy from approaching, right? So, and this has to be on your infantry in my eyes. Otherwise, we're moving into lists that focus on other stuff. I'm going to talk tomorrow about leaf blower lists, but that's a totally different area in my opinion. Italians, I mentioned Finns before. Italians also do this quite well, especially when they get the scenarios where they are the defender. So, what it does, this defensive list, is you have to have hard infantry that can reach out and damage approaching enemies from a distance. And at the same time, if they move in, you should be fairly confident that you're going to win an assault, for instance, if the enemy charges you and you are in cover. So that if you have a simultaneous assault, the enemy should be discouraged from taking that fight, right? And you can, if you have veteran infantry in cover, most of the time, if you are more than 5 men, most enemies will just stay away from you. Because it's just too risky to charge that. So that's what makes and breaks the list. What's good about it is that it's really, really survivable. Lists like this typically have a lot of veteran infantry, so it's really hard to shoot them away. It's really hard if you place it correctly, which is in cover. It's really hard to shoot them away, and it's also very hard to assault them away because you're in cover. So veteran infantry, as I just mentioned, it's a tough fight, right? And there's typically a lot of this veteran infantry. Maybe they also have special rules benefiting them. The Finns have that ambush +1, right? So if you're moving up to them, you're going to get ambushed, which is one of the main things that this army does. It goes into ambush all the time. So that is the benefit. It's really good for people who like tries to not have their troops killed. But it does not maneuver and move very well. That is one of the main disadvantages of this army. Mostly because it will have infantry that is just on foot. And that can be okay, but it's not very quick in its maneuvers, right? And most of the time it will go down or be in ambush or whatever, so it's stationary. Which means that the main weakness is if you have a mobile enemy that can concentrate his force on just a part of your force, then your defense might collapse. That is a huge weakness, which is not good. Also, it really struggles against indirect fire if it's provided by large enough HE. So medium mortars and heavy mortars or light howitzers. If you have the spotters to start shooting, then you can force the infantry to move. And that is what it doesn't do well, as I said before, right? So you can, with a little bit of work, you can make the enemy move and thereby lose some of his defensibility. So, yeah, and that is the defensive list. Cheers.